appearance day of Advaitacharya, and the name may sound foreign to some of you. Is anyone here for their first time visiting? And if you're not here for the first time, who is here? Who has heard of Advaita Acharya? All right, a few of us. It's a bit hidden. So recite some Mangalacharan verses, auspicious invocation, in honor of our predecessor teachers, to Lord Chaitanya, to the Panchatattva. Panchatattva means the five truths. So today you'll hear a little bit about this aspect of Krishna coming in this manner of the five truths called the Panchatattva. And within that Panchatattva, there's one personality named Advaita Acharya. So today's his appearance day. You'll see a picture of him on the altar, worshipping, offering some flowers to Shalagram Shila, the sacred stone, none different than Krishna, Vishnu. And we'll hear a little bit about what's going on in this picture today. Him calling out his prema hunkara, his loud roars of love. Prema hunkara. Hunkara means roaring, like a lion. So his lion-like roars, appealing to the Lord to please come in this Kali Yuga, to bestow your grace, mercy, and compassion upon the, as Prabhupada said, the death nail condition. Prabhupada said the residents of this Kali Yuga, he compared it to like death nail, meaning it's a very difficult situation to be existing in this Kali Yuga of forgetfulness of Krishna and the purpose of self-realization. So with that, we'll recite our Mangalacharan. And, at the end, I'll recite a few verses from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, glorifying Advaita Acharya. And we can recite these together. I'll say it in phrases, so a little easier to follow for everyone. Please repeat. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Ummilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Shtapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Tadhamaya Tadati Swa Padantikam Nama Om Vishnupadhaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya. Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Advaita Chandra. Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. This is an invocation verse in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So glorifying Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda, and Advaita Chandra. Chandra is moon-like. So moon-like Advaita and the devotees of Lord Chaitanya. Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya. Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Sri Chaitanya. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya. Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Advaita Chandra. Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Advaita Chandra. Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. 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 Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Chandra ki jai. So just continuing with our Mangalacharan. Maha Vishnur Jagat Karta Maya Yaya Srijatyada Tasya Vatara Evayam Advaita Charya Ishvara. Lord Advaita Charya is the incarnation of Mahavishnu, whose main function is to create the cosmic world through the actions of Maya. Advaitam Harina Advaita Acharyam Bhakti Samsanat Bhaktavataram Isham Tam Advaita Charyam Aishraye. Because he is non-different from Hari, the Supreme Lord, he is called Advaita. And because he propagates the cult of devotion, he is called Acharya. He is the Lord and the incarnation of the Lord's devotee. I therefore take shelter of him. Panchatattvamakam Krishnam Bhaktarupa Swarupakam Bhaktavatara Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam. I offer my obeisances unto the Supreme Lord Krishna, who is non-different from his features as a devotee, devotional incarnation, devotional manifestation, pure devotee, and devotional energy. Hare Krishna. So, in coming to spiritual life, the Panchatattva, they were the first deities. It was the first altar that I saw back in 1987 in Laguna Beach. And at that time I hadn't really studied or learned too much about the Vedic tradition or the Bhakti tradition, and especially about Archana. I never really saw an altar, except my cousin's husband, he was from India. So I remember I was 13, and after their wedding they gave me a little coin with Ganesh, or no, it was with Saraswati. And then he said, if you take this with you, you'll do well in school. I think I needed about 10 of those coins. one just didn't do it. But it must have helped. At least I got a 3.4. Yeah, so that I had a little silver coin with Saraswati on it. And then my junior in high school, we went to a temple and we walked in, and then there was these 5 personalities with their arms raised. And then one had like a grayish beard, long gray hair. They all had like beautiful long hair. And 3 of them were with their arms up. One hands were folded. And then on the side, there was Jagannath, big eyes, wide-eyed Jagannath. And then behind in Laguna, there was this big picture of Radha, Krishna, and the Ashtasakis, the 8 gopis, the 8 principal goddesses. And I walked in, and for me, spirituality, where I was coming from, was just kind of great spirit, Brahman, right? Spirit, divinity. I was hanging out with Rastafarians, Jah, Christos. It was just kind of this oneness of divinity. And I walk in, and here's like this far out blue personality with Radha and these 8 goddesses, these Ashtasakis. And then on the altar, there's the Panchatattva. And I was like, what's going on here? I thought spirituality was simple. So it is quite simple. It's so simple that Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, he says, Brahmano hi pratishtaham. He says, I am the source of that Brahman, of that eternal spirit, which is imperishable, eternal, and full of nectar, amrita, full of happiness. I am the source of that Brahman. And so for a lot of us coming to spirituality, the Brahman conception is not too difficult to relate to. Even the super soul connection, right? The voice of God within, that intuitive voice, spirit within, or that energy that's pervading everything. It's in the movies, right? If you've seen Avatar, if you've seen Star Wars, these different movies, they even talk about this kind of concept of the force, or that all-pervading energy that's flowing through everything. And that's something that we can all relate to, whether we're within a religious tradition or not a religious tradition. And then we come into the path of bhakti, and then suddenly it seems very complex. You have this one truth, in that it's described in the Bhagavatam, Brahman Paramatmeti Bhagavamiti, that those who are interested in that one absolute truth, they understand that absolute truth both as a spirit, both as super soul, Paramatma, Lord in the heart, and as Bhagavan, the one who possesses all opulence, that supreme personality of Godhead. They see the absolute truth in those 3 features, that one source. And then today we have Advaita Acharya, who's part of the Panchatattva. So Pancha means 5 truths. So it seems like it even gets more confusing. So the Panchatattva, that one source, as we were saying from Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is saying, Brahmano hi pratishtaham. I am the source of that eternal Brahman, right? So if we study ourselves, just like if you went down to the Denver Performing Arts and there was going to be a theatrical performance, what's a good theater that you've seen down there? At DP, the Denver Performing Arts Center, or anywhere. What's that?
AMC, Regal Cinemas.
Yeah, well, what performance? I went to see with our family, we went to see, what's that? Life of Pi. Yeah, we went to go see Life of Pi downtown, maybe last year or so. But if we were to go down there, and all on the stage, the only thing we saw on the stage was just like a blur for 3 hours. And the sound was just a blur, and the taste and smells, and then whatever we got to eat was just a blur. Everything was just a kind of, just a gray blur, homogeneous blur. We'd be like, can I have my money back? Because I thought I was coming to see a dynamic performance. So even ourselves, we can see that inclination to want to experience variety, right? To experience variety in personality. Or just like we're going to be tasting the feast soon today. If we got the feast, if Rasagya was downstairs, and he got the feast has been offered, I can share. If he got the sweet rice and the glubjamins, I saw them making it, so there's glubjamins today, and the sabji and the rice, and he just put it all in a blender, so that it's just eka, it's just one, ekam, right? It's just one. And he brought it up in a big bucket, and we served the feast out with one spoon, and it's just this homogeneous merge of all the ingredients. No, we want to experience the variety, we want to experience the taste, the rasa, right? So Krishna is rasa vaisa, he's the source of all these various melodies. So therefore, that source of eternality, that source of Brahman, comes in such variety of ways to almost experience what we like to experience. Like what do families and friends do maybe on a Friday or Saturday night? What kind of like outings go on socially amongst friends and family? Either at home or going out. Bowling, all right. And when you
series.
What's that?
Watching movies.
Watching movies.
Series.
All right, watching movies, going bowling, playing games. What's a vital part of all those? If you went to a bowling alley and if you went to like some recreation playing games, are you going to be fasting?
No.
Would you be fasting for 3 hours if you went bowling? No, you probably, back in the day, would get like a Slurpee or some licorice or, pack our macro bars or bring some samosas and chutney, right? We would do that. And it's always exciting, right, when you bring prasadam or any kind of family outing. Or people go out to dinner, right, where they invite friends over. And so we can see this inclination, and with the Panchatattva especially, when Krishna comes as Lord Chaitanya, when you eat future, you'll see if you read these pastimes, which today they won't do it justice to even try to go into that. We're just going to go into one aspect of Advaita Charya. But if you study the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya and Advaita Charya, it's amazing how much of them are revolving around having meals together. And not only having meals together, but when you were a kid, did you ever get like in a food fight? Or did you ever do that at school? Like throw bananas across the quad and try to hit someone with a banana, or just like crazy things that 14, 15, 16-year-old boys would do? Yeah, I remember, trying to like get a slice of an apple and try to throw it at someone. Or, where is this all coming from? Why is this kind of variety of behavior happening here? Because ultimately Krishna, it's happening with Krishna, and he comes as Lord Chaitanya and associates. Advaita Charya, who's non-different as we're reading, that Mahavishnu lying on the causal ocean with universes coming out of the pores, and then within each of those universes expands as Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, another Vishnu, and then expands a third time as a supersoul, Shirodakshaya Vishnu. Sadashiva, that glance of Vishnu, touching, as Prabhupada says in a lecture, okay, there was a chunk, but something had to ignite the chunk, if there was a chunk. And he says, so that glance of Vishnu, which we can't see, we can see the chunk, the pradhan, the inner matter, but we can't see that glance of Vishnu, Sadashiva, who Advaita Charya is also an expansion of this Mahavishnu. And Prabhupada said, just like vegetables and grass of the ground, without the vision, without the glance of the sun, grass and vegetables won't grow, right? It requires the eye of the sun, the potency, the shakti of the sun, it hits, and then things start to grow. So he said, fine, you can call it the chunk. He said, use that term. There's a great chunk, but what makes it explode? And Prabhupada actually says in this lecture on the appearance of Advaita Charya, that explosion is ignited by the vision of Mahavishnu. So this is Advaita Charya. And what does Advaita Charya do when he comes into this realm in the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya? He's inviting Lord Chaitanya, who's none other than Krishna, and Nityananda, who's none other than Balaram, inviting them over to his house, having this lila, and he feeds them. And Lord Nityananda is complaining, you haven't cooked enough to fill my belly even it's like a morsel. And Lord Chaitanya is feeling already full. And Lord Nityananda is like, what kind of cook are you? What kind of host are you? And then Advaita Acharya says, you're a reject renunciate. You're supposed to just accept whatever comes of its own accord, and you're demanding so much food. What kind of guests are you? And they're having this playful, sort of joking exchange, like we might do with a friend. And then Lord Nityananda gets some rice that Advaita Acharya cooks, and he throws it at Advaita Acharya, and Advaita Acharya just goes into ecstasy, and just by being touched by that rice that was thrown by Lord Nityananda. So much, it's such a joyful when you read this pastime, it's like, will I be able to be there someday? Will I be able to just be part of that lila? And we're all looking for it. And if we study ourselves here, we're all looking for an experience, whether it's in the weekend, we want to experience like a pastime with friends, with family, an outing, kind of a fun excursion, some kind of adventure, right? It's that inclination that we have. And that's there because ultimately it's in Krishna, it's in Mahavishnu. And so the Panchatattva, these 5 truths, coming as devotees, as bhaktas, that supreme absolute truth, coming to experience what does it feel like to serve, to be a servant of the servant of the servant. And then with these 5 truths, you have divinity, you have Ishvara, Chaitanya Nityananda Advaita, then you have the Shakti, the energy of the Lord, Gadadhar, and then the 5th is Jiva Tattva, which we're part of that. Jiva means the living entity. So these 5 truths, these 5 principles encompass all of existence. The Shakti, the Ishvara, and then us, the Jiva. So today, just for a few verses, I wanted to share this mood of Ishvara, coming in the mood of Para Upakara, means one whose intention, whose sankalpa, is to work for the benefit of others. Right? For one who's here to work for the benefit of others. So Prabhupada says that Acharya isn't one who just establishes temples and does deity worship so that they can get donations from people. They're not into it just for the monetary business of it. And sometimes this happens, whether you go to India, wherever in the world, churches, temples, whatever it might be. Some people might think this is a good way to profit. If I do this ceremony, if I do this particular ritual, I can get people to come, and I can get people to give money, and I can subsist off that. And Prabhupada says this is not Acharya. Acharya means one who teaches others with the mood of how to help them, as he says, getting out of the death nail of this material existence. Right? None of us can escape it. They're seeing the Acharyas, they're seeing that people in this material world are like fish out of water. Advaita Acharya, he took an observation of the land that he was at. And then Srila Prabhupada, we can see, is also an empowered representative. He saw it globally. But these great personalities, they see the environment, and they're kind of seeing like a bunch of fish out of water. They're seeing people moving around, but flapping and suffering, that basically in forgetfulness of their full, true nature as spirit souls in relationship with God, that connection. And because they see that kind of fish out of water circumstance, their heart calls out in a mood of compassion. And so it's described that Advaita Acharya, Prema Hunkara, he was roaring, but with that love, right? Prema means love, Hunkara means roar. That roar of love, he was appealing, my Lord, I'm a plenary expansion of yours. I'm non-different than Mahavishnu, but on my own, I can't see myself delivering the suffering of the world at large. You please come yourself directly. And Prabhupada says one has to be Ishvara or empowered by Ishvara, meaning one has to be the Supreme Lord or empowered representative. And many times he would give the example of Lord Jesus, right? One who is empowered to reestablish Dharma. And so we have many of these personalities like Lord Buddha, Lord Jesus, right? They were Shakti, they were empowered, Avesh, they were like an empowered representative of the Lord to reestablish Dharma. And Advaita Acharya was appealing, you please come directly yourself, appealing to Krishna. So we're just going to read a beautiful section of Advaita Acharya and to see where his heart was situated in relationship with the suffering condition of the world at large. And for all of us here today, I think if we take a little time every day, whether it's just within our own neighborhood, Has anyone ever gone down Colfax, and as you go down each block, sometimes you'll just kind of turn to the right and you'll just see some people strung out, maybe like on some meth or heroin, or then you'll go down and you'll see people like in different suffering conditions. We don't even have to read the news, just walking around locally, you can just feel the suffering, the trauma, the fear, the confusion that's going on. Whether it's someone on Colfax, or you even go to the suburbs, right? A nice, clean suburb town, perfectly, the grass is perfectly mowed, the parks are nice and clean, the homes are all lined up nicely, everyone's driving, a nice, either an Audi, a BMW, or a Tesla, or, just some nice opulent car. And yet, you spend a few days with any of those individuals, there will also be some kind of dukkha, sometimes even more. It can even sometimes be more severe, right, in those conditions. It's just a little bit more polished over, but there is still an element of suffering going on. So it's in every corner of this world. So Advaita Acharya, such a personality that he saw that condition and he wanted to be of some service. How can I be of some service? To help this suffering condition of the world. So we'll take a few moments to read these thread of verses. So this is in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, beautiful diary of Krishnadas Kaviraj, and this is coming about 500 years ago, and they're the diaries of Sarup Damodar, Rabindranath Das Goswami, the Goswamis, various personalities who were taking note of Lord Chaitanya's activities and teachings. This is right in the third chapter of the Adi Lila. Acharya Gosani Prabhura Bhakta Avatara Krishna Avatara Hetu Yamhara Hunkara. Advaita Acharya Goswami is an incarnation of the Lord as a devotee. His loud calling, Hunkara, his loud calling was the cause for Krishna's incarnation. Krishna yadi pritevite karene avatara pratama karene guru bhagere sanchara. Whenever Sri Krishna desires to manifest his incarnation on earth, first he creates the incarnations of his respectable predecessors. So like theater, if you're a director, you're arranging all the actors, right? Getting the whole set ready. So sometimes the director might be like, hey, I want to be in the play too. I want to be in the theater. I like directing, but sometimes I just want to get in there with the cast and be part of that play. So Krishna is arranging for his mother to come, for his teachers, for his friends to come again in this Gaura Lila. So he creates the incarnations of his respectable predecessors. Thus, respectable personalities such as his father, mother, and spiritual master all take birth on earth first. Madhavendra Puri, Ishwara Puri, Srimati Sachimata, and Srila Jagannath Mishra all appeared with Sri Advaita Acharya. Prakatiya Deke Acharya Sakala Samsara Krishna Bhakti Gandhahina Vishaya Vyavara. Advaita Acharya, having appeared, he found the world devoid of devotional service to Sri Krishna. So he didn't see the world devoid of a certain religion. He wasn't thinking people aren't Hindus or Christians or Muslim or Jewish or this religion or that religion. He was seeing that people were devoid. There was a devoid of devotional service. Basically, he saw people like fish out of water. They were out of that element of water, which can be compared to devotional service, dedication, service to God. And out of that is like a suffering state. Forgetfulness of devotional service is like that fish out of water. So he saw the world devoid of devotional service to Krishna because people were engrossed in material affairs. Everyone was engaged in material enjoyment, whether sinfully or virtuously. No one was interested in the transcendental service of the Lord, which can give total relief from the repetition of birth and death. Seeing the activities of the world, the Acharya felt compassion and began to ponder how he could act for the people's benefit. Advaita Acharya thought, Apani Shri Krishna yadi karene avatara, apane achari bhakti karene prachara. Advaita Acharya thought, if Sri Krishna were to appear as an incarnation, he himself could preach devotion by his personal example. Navavinu kali kale dharma nahi ara, Kali Kale Kaicheha Ve Krishna Avatara. In this age of Kali, there's no religion other than the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. But how in this age will the Lord appear as an incarnation? Shuddhabhave Karive Krishnera Aradhana Nirantara Sadanye Kariva Nivedana. I shall worship Krishna in a purified state of mind. I shall constantly petition him in humbleness. So in this picture, or as we do on the altar, or some of you may do puja at home, you have some flowers, you may have your Shalagram Shila, or your Takurji, your Radha Krishna, and you have some flowers, and you may offer it. And a lot of times we may offer it, we might be thinking some other things, or, oh, today's a big exam, please help me, Lord, or, the weather's been really hot or too cold, I hope it's a nice day, whatever. We might be asking for, even that's good, right? I hope at the Sunday feast today there's gulab jamun, whatever it might be. There might be some material motive, but even that's better than not asking Krishna for something. But Advaitacharya, he wasn't asking anything for his personal benefit. You'll start to hear his prayers. He's thinking para upakara, of the welfare of others. So while he's doing his worship, it's not just for his own material purpose, which is okay. Lord, help me. Just like when we were teenagers, we would do a prayer. I hope the waves are 5 feet today, glassy and perfect, right? We would give a prayer to God for fulfilling, or if you're a snowboarder or skier, right? Krishna, I hope it snows this weekend so that we have some nice powder. Or I hope my salary is good this year so I can make 3 trips to wherever it might be, Hawaii, Indonesia, Dubai, whatever, right? We might be praying like that. So again, it's not necessarily bad. At least you're appealing to Krishna, just like we hear, "Oh Lord, give us this day our daily bread." So that's good. You're asking for something. But Advaitacharya is showing, how about appealing to the Lord? How can I serve? How can I give instead of how can I take? Right? So this is Advaitacharya while he's working the Shalagram Shila. How can I be of service? My name Advaita will be fitting if I'm able to induce Krishna to inaugurate the movement of the chanting of the holy name. While he was thinking about how to propitiate Krishna by worship, the following verse came to his mind. Tulasidala matrena jalasya julakena va viknite swam atmanam bhaktebhyo bhaktavatsala. Sri Krishna, who is very affectionate toward his devotees, sells himself. So here's Krishna, Swara, completely independent. But yet, he sells himself to a devotee who offers him merely a tulsi leaf and a palmful of water, particularly the Ganga water. So for those who are familiar with the Bhakti tradition, why is Tulsi Devi significant? Why would the Acharya be thinking of this verse in the Gautamiya Tantra? He's remembering this verse that Krishna becomes indebted to one who just offers a tulsi leaf and some Ganga water. So what's so significant about a tulsi leaf? She comes in the form of this green plant, and there's so many other plants in this world that have green leaves and that have little purple buds. So what's so significant about Tulsi Devi? Why would the Acharya be referencing this verse? Radha Krishna Seva Babu Eya Mudasi. Yes?
Prabhu, if we are just talking in terms of scientific reason, it gives out oxygen all the time.
But particularly to appeal to Krishna, because Krishna is not needing oxygen. So what is Krishna particularly appreciating by this offering of Tulsi? Why her particularly? Why is she mentioned?
She's the biggest devotee of
She's
Krishna.
she's the one that gives us entrance into bhakti. Radha Krishna Seva Kavo E Avilasi. Oh, Tulsi, beloved of Krishna, I bow down before you again and again. My only desire is to obtain the service of Radha and Krishna, right? Seva Adhikara, and whoever serves you, you give them that opportunity to serve you, just like a dasi or a das. So Tulsi Devi is that person. And Vrindavan, another of her names is Vrinda, right? Forest of Vrinda. So when you go to Vrindavan, what's growing all around Vrindavan? Tulsi Devi, right? She's growing all over. So it's the forest of Vrinda, Tulsi Devi. So that goddess that she's also a choreographer in the spiritual world. She is arranging, she's a goddess who arranges what birds, how the wind will blow, what flowers will blow, what flowers will grow. She's arranging the whole environment. And she comes into this world, takes the form of a tulsi plant, and even on the medical platform, incredibly therapeutic, as you were referencing, right? Even on that platform, she's like highly medicinal. But even higher than that is that she gives that bhakti. And Ganga Devi. So why is she significant? So one who offers Tulsi Devi and then a palmful of Ganga water. Why? What's so significant about Ganga? There's so many rivers in the world. Ganga, Jamuna, there's few of those, but we've got rivers all around the world. Why particularly Ganga?
She originated from the feet of Lord Vishnu.
Yeah, and how does she come from the feet of Vishnu? Yeah. So it was that third step that when he pierced the covering of the universe, and then the Karna, the causal ocean, the water that Mahavishnu lies in, started to come through, and then that river comes down. From our understanding, the Milky Way is the Ganga Sagara, right? Is the path of the Milky Way, the path of the Ganges, and then she comes down, and then who catches her? Because she comes down so forcefully. Mahadev, right? She comes down, and then she starts to flow. Who's been to the source of the Ganga? I haven't. Has anyone been up to? You've been up to Is it Gangotri? You've been? You've taken bath in Gangotri? Gomukh. It's cold. Cold water. Yeah. So you can actually go up there. So these two things, the Ganga and Tulsi Devi. This verse came to Advaitacharya. So simple. And if you don't have Tulsi water, you can do a particular mudra over the water. Om Krom Gange Jamuna Chaiva Godavari Saraswati Narmadu Sindhi Kaveri Jalismin Sanidin Kuru. There's 7 sacred rivers. There are these goddesses. You have the Jamuna, you have the Ganga, the Narmadi, Kaveri, and you can actually invoke the presence of them into the water and then offer that water to Krishna. And Tulsi, even if you don't have Tulsi, a Tulsi tree, maybe not so easy to grow. We have a nice greenhouse here. Mother Parameshwari takes care of Tulsi Devi very nicely. We have Tulsi leaves, but even if you don't have Tulsi, you can just say Tulsi, Tulsi, Tulsi. If you're traveling and you're making an offering and you don't have Tulsi leaves, or you get a little branch and you take that branch like a magic wand and you just touch it to the offering, and that's also like offering Tulsi. So these two things, Tulsi and Ganga water. So the Advaitacharya considered the meaning of the verse in this way. Not finding any way to repay the debt he owes to one who offers him a Tulsi leaf and water, Lord Krishna thinks, there's no wealth in my possession that is equal to a Tulsi leaf and Ganga water. So this is how much Lord Krishna appreciates this. There's so much wealth in the world, and just this devotional offering of Tulsi leaf and Ganges water. So bhakti is very, very, very simple. It just requires a simple offering of leaf, patram pushpam palam toyam, with bhakti. So sometimes you might think, I don't have the knowledge of all these intricate rituals and ceremonies. That's okay, because Krishna is saying here, the Tulsi leaf is some Ganga water. Offer these with devotion, and I'll be indebted to that servitor. Thus the Lord liquidates the debt by offering himself to the devotee. Considering in this way, the Acharya began worshipping the Lord. Thinking of the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, he constantly offered Tulsi buds in the water from the Ganges. He appealed to Sri Krishna with loud calls, Krishneda adhwana kare, koreye humkara, e mata Krishnede, koraila avatara. He appealed to Krishna with loud calls and thus made it possible for Krishna to appear. Therefore, the principal reason for Sri Chaitanya's descent in this appeal is the appeal by Advaitacharya. The Lord, the protector of religion, appears by the desire of his devotee. O my Lord, you always dwell in the vision and hearing of your pure devotees. You also live in their lotus-like hearts, which are purified by devotional service. O my Lord, who are glorified by exalted prayers, you show special favor to your devotees by manifesting yourself in the eternal forms in which they welcome you. So this is a beautiful reciprocation. Advaita Acharya is appealing to Krishna, please come. And Krishna is coming in this form of Lord Chaitanya, the combined form of Radha and Krishna. That'll be coming up next month. And next week we'll hear about the appearance of Lord Nityananda. So within these 5 truths, there's the 3 Ishwaras. Ishwara means controller or divinity. You have Advaita today, next week we have Nityananda, and then a few weeks after that we'll have Lord Chaitanya. Those are very special days. If you can be here next Friday evening, we'll be having a beautiful celebration in the mood of glorifying Lord Nityananda. So one thing for me, when I hear these pastimes, because I tend to forget very quickly, it's very easy to get kind of in a small world of just our regular daily duties, our health issues, family, our chores, our work, etc., etc. We can get really kind of in that little world, and we may kind of forget to expand our consciousness to see, can I take a moment every day while doing maybe a little puja or a little setting a sankalpa in my meditation? Can I take a break from the activities of the day and enter into the mood of Advaita Acharya? I may not be able to, appeal and have Krishna come like Advaita Acharya has come, but at least I can enter into that spirit of being para, upakara. I can do something for the welfare of others. And even one devotee said, if dealing with human beings is difficult, then go to the park, and what grows in the park? What grows at a park when you're playing frisbee or soccer? Grass. So he said, if you're having difficulties with humans, just go to a park, chant Hare Krishna, and allow all the grass to hear the holy names. Allow all the blades of grass. And if you go to a park, I guarantee you'll see a few squirrels too. Let the squirrels and let the trees hear the holy name. So we shouldn't take it lightly. We can be today in the spirit of Advaita Acharya. I'm going to give the opportunity, because in this human form of life, I have this voice. I can recite the name of Krishna, the name of God. And let's give the opportunity for the squirrels and for the birds and for the blades of grass to hear the holy name of Krishna. And that's very significant. We may not think of it as much. We may not be on this platform of Advaita Acharya calling Krishna coming as Lord Chaitanya and delivering the land, right? Or Srila Prabhupada, you can say, is an expanded, empowered representative of Advaita Acharya. He played the role of Advaita Acharya in a play when he was a young man. And he did that service. Krishna brought Lord Chaitanya around the world. So that might seem like an inconceivable feat. But in our own small little way every day, we can also invite this mood of Advaita Acharya. And this was the mood of all the Acharyas, right? We can see even Srila Prabhupada would say, in the West you have the most famous example, Lord Jesus. And in a bhakti tradition we have Haridas Thakur, meaning that they're willing to even not just think of the welfare of others, but even taking on some inconvenient suffering. Lord Shiva says like this in the 8th canto, Mahadev. He says the greatest act of compassion is to take on some inconvenience for the benefit of others, right? Some inconvenience, to be of some service to others, to help that fish back in the water, right? To help that fish back in the water. So similarly, in the mood of Advaita Acharya, sometimes we might be like on the beach, we may not always be in the water, but if we're in good association, most likely we'll be in some aspect of the water of devotional service, and then we can be of service to bring others back into the water. And especially in this form of giving this vibration of the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram. Shri Advaita Acharya ki jai, Shri Panchatattva ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. So we'll close with a little kirtan. Actually, Nanu asked if I could just